Life can be tough. It can throw all kinds of challenges our way. But what sets successful people apart is their ability to maintain a positive mental attitude in the face of adversity. When we develop a positive mental attitude, we open ourselves up to a world of possibilities. We start to see challenges as opportunities for growth and learning, rather than insurmountable barriers. We become more resilient and adaptable, able to weather the storms of life with grace and fortitude.
When it comes to developing a positive mental attitude, there are 4 major factors to consider. The first is your attitude toward past and future events. The second is your attitude toward yourself. The third is your attitude toward others. And the final is your attitude toward places, situations, and events. Your attitude toward past and future events. How you feel in the present is determined by your attitude toward past events. You are weighing yourself down if you are carrying feelings of guilt, shame, resentment, regret, and failure.
Let me just make this super bold, definitive statement. Having regrets is friggin' pointless. Now, I'm not saying we can't feel guilty, wish we had done something different, want to make amends about something, right? That's not what I'm saying. But I've had clients who for years, they are just spending hours, days, their lifetime regretting the past. And it's as productive as like bashing your skull against a stone wall. It doesn't do anything. But what does it do? It anchors you in the past. And what happens when we are anchored in the past? What are we doing? Oh, we're missing our one and only amazing life in this present moment, which will never come again, by the way. There's something that you can do that is so much more productive than nurturing your regrets. Because wherever you spend your time psychologically, right, whatever you spend the most time holding in your mind, you're going to be drawing like experiences into your life by doing that. So if you're thinking about crap that you regret, trust me, you are drawing more experiences into your life that you will regret.
To feel free and lighter again, you must let go of your past mistakes and failures. Nobody has had an ideal life. To feel good in the present, you must make peace with your past. Similarly, your attitude towards future events determines your attitude. If you are fearful and anxious about your future, and if you dwell in thoughts of uncertainty, pessimism, and paranoia, the chances are your present moods are challenged, and hence your attitude. The right way to fix is to cultivate optimism and deliberate attention to the present moment, so that you don't miss out on life in the present moment. Remember, life is what happens to us while we are busy planning other things. Your attitude toward yourself. Your self-talk reveals your attitude towards yourself. You can have positive or negative self-talk, and this influences how you feel on the inside. Every day, you have a conversation with yourself, and the majority of the time, the subject is you. Understanding your dominant thoughts requires you to become self-aware of your self-talk. Most importantly, you must monitor the tone of your internal dialogue. Are you speaking to yourself as if you were a critic or a coach? Do you have a nagging voice in your head telling you that you are unworthy and incapable, and that you do not deserve anything good to happen in your life? Your inner critic is your shattered and negative inner self, a voice within you that only sees and pinpoints your flaws. If this is the voice you've been hearing for a long time, it's no surprise that you doubt yourself and never reach your full potential.
I want you to start being your loudest cheerleader instead of your biggest enemy. Here are 3 steps you can take to turn your inner critic to an inner soother. So step number 1 is to learn to notice and recognize when you're having these mean critical thoughts, self-judgmental thoughts. Because the truth is, by now, these thoughts have become a second nature. They might be happening from the first thing in the morning till the end of the day. So we really want to start noticing and catching when our inner critic is in the driver's seat and is talking to us and saying all these mean things. And when you notice it, I want you to move on to step number 2 and make an active effort to distance yourself from those thoughts. Like I said, those thoughts may come up, but it doesn't mean we have to engage in them. I don't want you to get more disappointed in yourself for having mean negative thoughts. I want you to accept that this will happen, that they've been around for a while, so it's normal for them to make a visit again. And then the third step is to learn to challenge them and reframe them. When you have a mean thoughts like you're always doing things wrong, then you might want to start challenging it and asking yourself, am I always doing things wrong? When was something good I did recently? And start to show evidences against this inner critical thought. What we really want to do is change the wording of it. If you really get stuck, one of my favorite tools is to pretend and imagine that someone you love is having the same mean thoughts that you're having at the moment. And then ask yourself, how would you help them out? If your loved one, your boyfriend, your girlfriend, your mother, your sister, were to have a thought like, nobody likes me, how would you help them out? How would you help them soothe themselves? And then you take that response and you say it to yourself.
The majority of people rarely or never analyze their internal dialogue, but there is real value in doing so. And here's why. Our thoughts create our emotions. These emotions then dictate more thoughts, which, depending on the circumstances, can turn negative unless we can recognize it, hit the brakes, and redirect ourselves.
Your inner dialogues determine your attitude. By focusing on the positive, counting your blessings with an attitude of gratitude, you can cultivate a nurturing and encouraging self-talk. What's more important is how you talk to yourself when you're under pressure. When things don't go your way, how do you handle yourself? Do you punish yourself? Do you beat yourself up? Or are you compassionate towards yourself? Are you considerate and understanding, accepting the very human nature that we can all make mistakes? Do you forgive yourself? Are you kind to yourself? If not, take a step back and cool off instead of badgering yourself with self-pity and blame. Talk to yourself like a coach. Use encouraging words. Okay, you messed up this time. You've learned a lesson. Now you know what works and what won't work. Now you're ready to move on, ready to leave that past behind. And with a determination that you will never make that mistake ever again. So when we practice self-compassion in our self-talk, we are treating ourselves with kindness, understanding, and acceptance. This means acknowledging our imperfections and mistakes and responding with empathy and compassion instead of harsh self-criticism.
Your attitude toward others. Your perception of others reveals a lot about your attitude, and vice versa. Negative attitudes towards others are characterized by a habit of complaining, being confrontational, intolerant, cold-hearted, and ruthless. You have a positive attitude towards others if you are friendly, approachable, kind, patient, caring, forgiving, friendly, tolerant, and empathetic.
You can have a benevolent versus a malevolent worldview about life in general, or you can have a realistic view of what lies in between the two depending on the circumstances we live in. People can be perceived as ruthless in a dog-eat-dog world or in a malevolent worldview with a cynical notion that everyone is out there to get you. Nobody can be trusted, there's nothing called loyalty, love, and so on, much like a spy's life. The opposite of that is a benevolent worldview. In a benevolent worldview, you can see the world as a friendly place where you feel safe and optimistic that everything will fall into place for your personal advancements. It's a friendly universe out there. People can be both good and bad in a realistic sense. So rather than looking for good people and leaving the bad ones, you can ignore the bad in good people. Because you're well aware of the fact that there's nobody perfect out there. You can absorb the good in others while avoiding the bad. The truth of the matter is that people around you can influence your attitude. Other suggestions like their ideas, concepts, and perspectives can actually occupy your thinking space. If you look at it, people are the real planets that is surrounding you and influencing your destiny more than any other stars out there in the sky. Our thinking choices are influenced by the people we associate with. Our attitude towards others is determined also by the filters others give it to us. Sometimes we all make the mistake of perceiving someone through the filters of others, and we tend to ignore the warning signs. When we take others' opinions to our heart, we tend to make choices accordingly. The right thing to do is, therefore, is to question and review your influence. Try seeing things with your own consciousness and use others' perspectives to see things more clearly. Be conscious of the influence around us. If you want to improve your attitude, spend time with people who have a positive influence on you. Hang out with people who uplift your spirits and wish good for you.
You know, one of my mentors used to tell me, show me your friends and I'll show you your future. He said, show me your 5 friends and I'll show you your income. He said, you'll be the average and you'll be the average income of the 5 people that you surround yourself for no reason. He said, what can you gain in the conversation? If you're sitting around hanging out with, 5 people that got nothing going on in life, they got no ambitions, no goals, what can you take out of the conversation? Especially if you're the smartest person in the room. But if you sit down and you're around 5 millionaires, you can learn something from that conversation, right? The other people are going to tell you what you can't do. Any idea that you've ever had, how many friends do you know that your friend sat there every time you came up with an idea? Maybe you wanted to go to college. Maybe you wanted to open that business. And what did they tell you? No, you can't do that. You don't have the money. Well, you can't do that. How would you do that? Where do you think you're going to get, the trucks at? Where do you think you're going to get the lawnmowers for the lawn care service? You can't go to college. You quit high school, right? So imagine those type of people. We call that the crabs in the bucket. You put one crab in the bucket, he can get out. But your 5 friends are like the 5 crabs in the bucket. You put 3, 4, 5 crabs in that bucket. Every time you go to crawl out, they're going to be trying to crawl out, but they just don't want you to get out of the bucket. And they're going to be pulling you back down, because a lot of times it's the most unfortunate thing to understand is you think you're a lot of your friends, you think some of your family members, you think a lot of the people around you and your surroundings are there for you, rooting you on, cheering for you. But the reality is either A, they don't want to really truly see you successful because that makes them less than, or they don't want you to be as successful as them. They want you to be just the next step lower. So choosing your 5 friends, it always sounded cliche. My parents would tell me as a kid, be careful who you surround yourself around, right? Pick your friends wisely, And I used to think it was a joke. I'd say this, Mom, these are my friends. Like, these are going to be my friends forever. Well, the unfortunate part is those people are not going to be around forever. And unfortunately, you may not want to go down the path they're going. So, show me your 5 friends and I'll show you your future.
Your attitude towards other places, situations, and events. The major external influences that can affect your attitude are places, situations, contexts, external stimulations, and events. Some places and surroundings can lift your spirits, while others can bring you down. Certain situations can be encouraging, while others can be discouraging.
In this information age, we are the largest consumers of media, and the media you consume, whether it is TV, books, social media, movies, or music, is perhaps the most powerful external influences that can shape the way how you think and feel. The majority of people are apathetic and passive consumers. They absorb information. We are like these sponges that keep absorbing information with what we hear, see, read, or consume. We are often the consumers of information rather than the producers of information. The information and content we consume have a constant influence on us. Here's the thing. The quality of output is determined by the quality of input. So the question to ask is, what do you consume? What occupies your mind? Do you consume positive content that inspires you to do something good in life? Or do you consume entertaining content that makes you feel good? Or are you sucked into the drama of chaos, negativity, hate speeches, fear-mongering, or all that negative content out there that makes you feel tired and helpless at the end of the day? The truth is that If you feed your mind with creative and inspiring inputs, it will produce the desired results. If you're constantly bombarded with news and information that causes you to be fearful and anxious, your mind will entertain thoughts that will correspond to the same input that you take into your mind. So watch out and become aware of what occupies your mind, what kind of media you consume, and what is your food for thoughts.
The truth is that you have complete control over your attitude at all times. And your attitude is heavily influenced by your focus and where you direct your energy. Energy flows where attention goes. Keep that in mind. We don't always create situations that pique our interest, but we can choose what to do about them and how to react to them. You are no longer a victim of your circumstances when you accept responsibility for your mental state. You are no longer a passive person. You can create the circumstances you desire, regardless of other people's, situations, or events' attitudes.